previously produced shows, and it's unique work, and I just don't know it. I couldn't get that anywhere else, and so I'm just so grateful to be able to. I feel like with these shows I got to build from the ground up and really make new discoveries with these roles that I've been cast in, and really push myself. And I think next year I just want to keep taking what's thrown my way. I mean, I also, on the singing side of things, I mean, Iowa does one musical per year, and that's exciting, but if not, I'm also very into the straight plays, and I love focusing on straight plays as well. And then I have the music side over at the music building, and that's great too, and I'm singing a lot of musical theater over there, and so it's really the best of both worlds. Meanwhile, writing when I can, so
film work.
And film work too. Yes, of course.
I wonder who she'll be working with on film in the near future. Okay.
Have to see. That fire was alive. I'm really excited to be in Iowa City. There are really great opportunities here, and it's surprising because living in this area my whole life, I never knew what all I could be exposed to, and there's a lot here. And the University of Iowa, I'm doing a lot of great work there because of how great the program is, the theater program and the music program, but theater specifically, there's just so much there for me. And next year, I'm taking a clown class with Paul Kalina, and so that's a movement-based class, and I'm really excited to get started on that. And then I'll be taking an advanced acting course focused on Shakespearean verse. And so, yeah, I'm very excited to be exposed to Shakespeare for the first time. And so there's just so much for me to do, and I am overwhelmed, but also wouldn't want it any other way.
Do you know? You must know you were there, because I don't remember.
My friend's friend, she saw everything. There's the story that
Mary Sue is a good kid.
And then there's the story you tell about yourself.
There's what you believe.
My little
Not what
Johnny
you believe,
would never do something
what
like
you want
that.
to believe.
How could you even think he would do something like that?
Eagle Skate Park is one of the largest skate parks in Florida with over 27,000 square feet of premium skating surface. We have ramps, rails, half pipes, and a bowl, offering extreme fun every day for skateboarders, scooters, and bicycle riders of all ages. You will also find a large pavilion and picnic tables, great for hosting parties and other events. Hang out with your friends inside, where we have a tasty concessions and sitting area great for cooling off. Be sure to also check out the awesome boards, helmets, clothing, and other gear for sale. Need a place to hang out after school? Join our Eagle After School Drop-In to have fun playing games or doing your homework. We have great skate events and competitions every month to show off your skills. So come on down to Eagle Skate Park and start having extreme fun today.
In today's episode, I'm taking you to a special place to meet an exceptional group of young moms. I'm teaching basic cooking skills to these single struggling moms in effort to help them provide healthier and more nutritious food to their kids. I will also share an easy recipe on stuffed peppers, which we are preparing for our little get-together. Recently, my nonprofit organization partnered up with another nonprofit organization in our town to help a group of single struggling moms obtain stability and to help them keep their families intact.
Easy breezy. All we're doing now is just forming it, and you still want to work all this ends. You want to work them in, okay?
During my work with this wonderful group, my goal was to provide a series of classes in which these young moms would learn not just cooking, but other important life skills. This was a great opportunity to address many important topics, from eating healthier and providing nutritious food to the kids, to economical shopping, preserving food, to creating an atmosphere in your home that's warm and welcoming and safe for themselves and for their kids. We had fun discussing many different topics, but the best part was creating all natural recipes and foods that were actually good for them and their kids, like those bars and this homemade pumpkin pie. So today's class is all about using the ingredients that we already have in the fridge to create new meals. And also the point of the class is to learn how to use certain ingredients sooner than other ingredients. Organize everything, see what needs to go right away, what stuff we could leave for the next week, or how can we make our food last longer, or how can we run the kitchen most economically. This particular class was lots of fun. Not only did we have a chance to clean up and organize our fridge, but we also took an inventory of food that was already available and created dinner using what we already had. Okay, we'll put the food aside for a minute, and I would like you to meet these exceptional young moms.
Hi, my name is Lauren. I'm 26 years old. I have a daughter. She's 7 months old. Her name's Aurora. In this program, you know, like we have cooking classes, and it's really amazing that we can have someone come out here and show us how to cook and provide for our kids.
My name is Ashley. I'm 29 years old. I have 2 kids, Nolan and Maddox, 7 years old and 7 months old. I'm living a life of recovery right now. I was on the street, homeless on the streets, addicted to meth and alcohol. Basically, I'm trying to change my life. I have almost 9 months clean, and I want to be there for my kids. So this cooking class is something that'll teach me to grow closer with my children. My mom has guardianship of my 7-year-old, so right now I'm learning to basically be there for him and be the best mom that I can be. The hardest thing about being a single mom is basically balancing life balances. So being able to have enough time for my 7-year-old and my 7-month-old, because they do require certain different degrees of attention. And so basically my 7-year-old, I'm just trying to grow, like I said, closer with him. This cooking class will be able to allow me to grow closer to my 7-year-old son. So my addiction is a lifelong disease, and if I were not to have the support that I have here, there's a possibility that I could relapse, but I do have this support here. Yeah, I have to stay strong in my recovery, and this is actually definitely a tool, like the cooking class is a tool of mine to keep myself busy.
My name is Joni Penaloza. I'm 32 years old, and I have 2 daughters. I have custody of one only, Karina. She's 8 months, and I'm currently looking at visitation for my oldest daughter, who is 8 years old. Very religious family, but my dad was an alcoholic, and there was a lot of abuse in my family. You have to pause it. Yeah. So the way I dealt with it, you know, we never talked about it. We were too scared to talk to like our parents about it. We didn't have anyone to turn to. So as I got older, I turned to drugs, and drugs kind of took over my life. And years went by, and before you know it, I'm years in addiction, and it was a struggle, because that's not the way I wanted to live, and I wanted a way out, and I couldn't find one. So finally I ended up doing inpatient and I got help, and today I'm happy to say that I am 9 months clean and sober, and it has a lot to do with the program, and I want to teach my children a different lifestyle. So
What is that lifestyle? If you could envision a lifestyle for your child, what would it be?
a lifestyle with no drugs, just a clean, safe environment, and with both of my daughters having what is necessary, you know. And I think I'm getting all the tools here provided, and I'm applying everything I can. I'm happy today because I get to like live clean and I live sober, and I'm gonna take everything I can from this, definitely. The hardest thing about this is that, like your food preparation, I have to start from the scratch. Yeah, from ingredient number 1. And I didn't finish school, so I already passed my language arts part of the GED test, so I have to start literally from the bottom, and I want to eventually build a career, and so I can have something to show to my daughters. And I want to just be a positive role model for my daughters, and I want to give back. I want to give back as well, like people have given to me. 2 years, I see myself with a career, dental hygienist, and I see myself providing and having a little more to give, to offer to everybody.
I see myself having a part-time job and having a full-time, and being in college full-time to become a paralegal.
I'm going to be financially independent. I'm going to have a full-time job or be in school for ultrasound technician. I'm going to have my own place. I'm going to have my other son back. I'm going to have custody of him back, and I'll be happy.
Part of the program was simply spending time together and creating an environment in which everybody felt welcome and accepted and comfortable to have a heart-to-heart conversation.
I was never given direction, like the example my parents did. Like my dad, he beat us.
Regardless of our life situations, I believe that we should strive to create more places and environments in which acceptance, care, love, and compassion is shared. An approach like this will benefit us all.
More bubbly, and both my parents were working parents, and so I was a pretty good kid. Like I was above average, and I just thought
I was just gonna say, I was just encouraged with a word of advice that everything that you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear. Mm-hmm. So, and I took that and I ran with it. So that's why I'm here today, is because this scares the living heaven.
It's out of your comfort zone.
Yes. I really, I was so scared to even fill out the application, but I strived that whole day just to get it, get it in.
So as you can see, there are countless needs, ways, and opportunities to help others. For me, food has always been that perfect vehicle to bring them all back home. Home is a perfect sanctuary for both growth and healing. In today's era, when families are getting busier and busier and we are bombarded with the opportunities and availability of internet, we would like to use this episode to remind you of the importance of family time.
And since today's episode is all about creating the home atmosphere, I think it's most appropriate that we make a really traditional recipe. We will be making stuffed peppers. So I'm getting a little creative with this recipe today by adding squash. And as I said, this recipe is so easy to make, and you have the freedom to incorporate your favorite vegetables in the same recipe. I'm going with the sweet onions. And we need about 1 medium head. Anyway, that was a mean onion. So much for sweetness. So this is the part where chef starts to cry and gets emotional, and all this good makeup goes to ruins. Anyway, we have 1 head of onion, and we're gonna cook that for a little bit. So we're going with 3 sticks of celery. And again, my intention with this recipe is to incorporate as many different vegetables as possible, because kids, once the dish is finished, kids won't even know that we have all these vegetables in a dish. Okay, onions are cooking, and we're just gonna add celery to it. We're gonna increase the fire. The reason I decided to add some of this squash is, first of all, this squash is extremely fragrant. It smells so, so, so good. Also, it's gonna add a lot of texture and creaminess to the recipe, not to mention that it's gonna add in a nutritional value. If you ask kids, do they like squash and zucchinis? Most of the kids will say no, but then you have to be clever and create dishes in which these vegetables will almost disappear, and all that you're left with is a good tasting texture and flavors that kids won't even know where they're coming from. So let's add squash, and then we'll do some carrots. Unfortunately for me, I do everything the old-fashioned way, which takes a little bit longer initially. Isn't this just pretty to see all these colors coming together? The bright orange and the bright yellow. So we're gonna let this cook for a little bit. And then I'm gonna add green zucchini. So far we have onions, celery, we have carrots and squash in our mixture. All of these ingredients are semi-dry. So making stuffed peppers, this is the one thing that you want to avoid. You don't want to have a dry mixture inside once you cut in your pepper. So to offset that, I'm adding some mushrooms and zucchini. And I'm going to go with about a cup and a half of fresh mushroom. All right, let's add mushrooms. All right, I'm gonna increase the fire a little bit because we're bringing moisture to this dish, and we already have this golden brown onions and carrots and zucchini, so this is very good. So we're adding this at the perfect time. And while mushrooms cook, I'm going to quickly shred some zucchini and add that as well. We should go with 2 zucchinis. We are really cooking now. This is sizzling, and that's what we want. Okay, here goes zucchini. Oh, look at this beautiful golden onions on the bottom. This is what's going to give this dish that caramelized flavor. Okay, this is a good time to add spices. So we'll go ahead with salt, pepper, maybe a little bit of paprika, just for the color. And I sometimes like to use a little bit of cumin in my dishes. And so it depends what your favorite flavors are. You're welcome to incorporate your favorite spices in this dish. Salt for your taste, and we're using some sea salt. Or if you have bouillon cubes, this would be also a good thing to use. About a teaspoon of cumin. Hungarian paprika, and if you don't have a Hungarian paprika, you can use chili pepper. And since we can do whatever we want with this dish, I'm also going to put just a little bit of turmeric. You can't go wrong with this spice. And we're going to finish it with a little bit of black pepper. Next is ground turkey. This recipe would be great with Italian sausage, beef or chicken, even lamb, but I chose turkey because it's very light. So we're going with 2 pounds of ground turkey. Now we're going to mix meat and vegetable really good together. And what's left to do is adding rice and maybe just finish it up with some additional spices. We will try this after we're done and see if we want to add more salt or more pepper, more garlic. And beside rice, we'll add a couple of eggs, and then we can start stuffing our peppers. So to save time, pre-cook the rice ahead of time, and I'll have a cup of rice into 2 cups of water. You can use chicken broth, it will be so much better, but I didn't have it, so I have just the plain water. But the important thing is that your rice is pre-cooked, which will cut down on baking time once we put the peppers to bake. Before we add eggs, you want to mix the rice in really well and try it one more time to make sure that salt and spices are right where you want them to be. You know what this dish would be really good with? If we started this with smoked bacon, and if with the olive oil we added a little bit of smoked bacon to that, that would have been so good. But we're trying to stay healthy, right? Not to say the bacon is not healthy, but I'm just looking at this dish and I'm thinking, oh, I would not mind some of that smoky flavor in this. Okay, so here comes the moment of truth. Let's see what we got here. Okay, it's so good. You don't need the peppers, you don't need to bake it, you don't need to do anything. You can just scoop this up in a dish and eat it with the salad, just the way it is.
Next, we need to add 2 eggs.
And we're just gonna mix in eggs. I'm adding 2, but you can add 3 if you wish. So what eggs will do, they will keep the texture together. When it comes to cleaning peppers, there are a couple of different ways to do this. And I think it's all to your preference. Some people will simply chop up the whole top of the pepper and stuff it. In my mind, when I cook, I'm always thinking about how to preserve as much as food as possible. So what I do, I make a small opening on the top, and I like to have this lip, if you will, because I feel that this kind of keeps all the juices in, and it also saves this part of the pepper, which is perfectly edible, and it's good. So I hate to waste food, and this is just my way of stuffing peppers. But if you prefer to do stuff like this, that's perfectly fine too. So this makes things easier to stuff, and perhaps it would look better on the top, but again, this is all to your preference. All right, and so we're ready to stuff our peppers now. So peppers are done, and all that's left to do is to add the sauce at the bottom. And I want to make sure that each pepper gets a little bit of this sauce. And so I will rinse the jar and add maybe about a 1/3 cup of water into this. Make sure to add water on the bottom, like this. Shake it really well. Make sure it's everywhere. We'll cover them for the first maybe 40 minutes or so, and then we will uncover them and top them with this amazing smoked cheese.
Rest of the stuffing I will store in the fridge, and I will use it in a day or 2 to make stuffed zucchinis. And while I'm cleaning up the kitchen, peppers are in the oven on 350 for about 45 minutes.
I think peppers are ready. So I'm purposely going with the smoked cheddar because I like that smoky flavor, and since I didn't put any bacon in this recipe, this is kind of gonna make up for that. So just a little bit of cheese, and then we're gonna put them back in the oven for less than 3 minutes, just enough so the cheese will melt. Another 2 or 3 minutes, and we're ready to eat. Okay, I'm impatient, and so I'm taking them out. Ideally, I would have this on a broiler so that the top and the cheese would have that brown, burnt flavor and look on the top. And let's get one of these. Let's get this big yellow one. And you see how nice and thick the juice is? We didn't use any flour. This is looking really, really, really good. All right. And the best part is, look at all this nice steam coming out straight out of the oven. And let's just finish it up with a little bit of parsley. And what would go really good with this is a slice of a fresh home-baked bread. But we're all trying to eat healthier these days, and we're staying away from too many carbs. So no bread. We have a rice inside. So this is good enough as it is. And now the peppers are done. All that's left to do is to pack them and share them with the rest of the girls.
You're recording.
Months after working together, we decided to throw a party for ourselves and our kids. A party and a picnic, and a reason to celebrate our hard work, our friendship, and all the good things that we have in our lives. All the moms were so proud to participate and bring their dish to the table. I too was very proud, but I was proud of them and of their effort, knowledge, and most of all, I was proud of their resilience. Idea behind this little get-together was also to acknowledge and share simply a good day and a good time with our friends and our kids. And of course, this was a perfect excuse to have lots and lots of good food for dinner.
Okay, so what? One healthy thing at least that's good. And then, ooh! Oh my God! Those are me.
Yeah, Molly loves to cook.
She's good at it.
I tried. This looks mean. Yeah. I took some of my grandparents. My grandma was like, "Oh my God, you gotta come back and bring more." I'm like, a lot of.
Yes, Chair. Before I call the roll, I would like to announce that members Blackwell, Rucker, and Rodriguez have requested to be excused, and I will mark them so. Bernal. Present. Lynn. Present. Lynn. McMillan. Present. McMillan. McMonagle. McMonagle. Present. Michael. Raymer. Present. Raymer. Present. Young. Zadowitz. Present. Zadowitz. Present. 8 present. 8 present. 4 excused. You have a form, so you can take that. I motion to adopt the agenda for the March 17th meeting as presented. I second that motion. I second that motion. Yes, Chair. Bernal. Yes, Chair. Aye. Bernal. Lynn. Aye. Lynn. McMillan. Aye. McMillan. Aye. McMonagle. McMonagle. Michael. Aye. Michael. Aye. Raymer. Young. Young. Zadowitz. Aye. Zadowitz. All ayes. Motion carried. All ayes. Motion carried. Next is item 5 of the meeting minutes for the February 11, 2022 meeting were attached to your document material and emailed to the council for review and consideration prior to. Can I have a motion to approve the regular minutes from February 11, 2022 as presented? For now, I motion to approve the meeting minutes as presented. Could I have a second? Reamer?
I second the motion.
Now made the motion, and Reamer made the second. Is there any discussion? We will now take a voice vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Next on the agenda is item 6, recognitions and achievements. There are currently no recognitions and achievements. We will now move on to the item agenda. Advisor presentation. 7A, upcoming advisor report. I will now turn the floor over to any advisors for any updates.
Chair, I don't have anything. There's a workshop coming up this Wednesday. The next regular meeting won't be till on Wednesday. So anything exciting coming up? The only thing for you to be aware of is our committee of the whole meetings will now change from 3 o'clock to 9 a.m. on Wednesdays. So on Wednesdays, voted to do the last meeting. So in case you tune into those, I hope that you do a little earlier starting for breakfast. We'll have them for breakfast now.
Thank you. Are there any other advisor updates? Okay, seeing none, I will move on to the next agenda item 8. Citizens consist of input of citizens on matters concerning city government. 3 minutes per individual. Council will listen to all speakers and respond after all speakers have made their presentation. I will now read the pledge of civility. We will be respectful of each other, even when we disagree. We will direct all comments to the issue. We will avoid personal attacks. Citizens' input is now open. Members of the public, please come forward to the podium. Please state your name clearly for the record. Are there any members of the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, citizens' input is now closed. Sorry.
Good afternoon. My name is Mayor John Gunter. I want to come today and speak with you on several different items. One of the items is how we hold ourselves accountable as a city council. We have something that we have adopted. It's been changed throughout the years by other councils. But I want to go over some of those things today with you. But before I do that, I'm sure each of you and every one of you are here because you want to be a future leader in some capacity, either in the private sector or the private sector in your future. So I took the opportunity today to look up the most seven one is lead by example. And I know some of you have heard that I think an effective leader is someone who always leads by example and always holds the person next to them accountable to that standard that either by an organization similar to this one, organization like we have at council. We have something called council rules or procedures. And I don't think this youth council has anything similar to that. My recommendation would be moving forward that this council have some type of policies like we do here at City Council. I'll go over some of those things once I talk about the 7 core principles. The first is lead by example. And the reason that you do that is not only for yourself, but it's the colleagues that you work with, that you sit with on a board similar to this one. And I know that council or city council, we do just that because we know that we are a collective body. We're one council, and each one of us play an important role in that. But we hold each other accountable to a standard and an expectation that we have set. And while doing so, the next principle is clear communication, which is perhaps the greatest tool in a leader's arsenal. Communication with that he or she can motivate, inspire teammates, while also promoting discipline, accountability. So once you set those standards, then our job to make sure that not only we're accountable, but for our fellow council members as well. The next tool is embracing change. And that could be a good discussion here today if you decide to move forward a similar policy. A core principle in effective leadership is the ability to embrace change. As you know, change is not always comfortable, and it can become difficult to come to terms of whatever that change is sometimes. But effective leaders are able to see change for the good and prepare themselves and their team for whatever that change may be. The next principle is promotion of effective diversity. Effective leaders understand diversity and innovation and creativity. They understand that uniformity is boring and can stifle success. And that's why we're all here. Success is for success. Success for our city, success for our youth council, and by being able to be diversified, I think is extremely important. If you look at our background of each council, we're a very diverse group. But I welcome that we have different views, we have different opinions, different life experiences, and with that we can come up with a better solution to any problem that we are addressing. So I think promoting diversity among the board is extremely important. Have values such as hard work, discipline, integrity, or just some of the fundamental values that we need to have in any organization, no matter if it's public or private. Effective leaders not only have these values, but try to promote them with one another. So if we have an individual that maybe isn't up to par to the expectation that we set as a board, then we try to help them. To make sure that they get to that expectation. Believe in teamwork. As we all know, you can accomplish so much more as a team. You can as a team. You do as It's a team effort. When we sit in those chairs that you're sitting in today. It's a collective body. It's a collective body. We work together. We work together for the good. For the good. And if we happen to make a bad decision, we have to go back and revisit that decision as a collective body. So I think it's very important to have teamwork amongst each other, moving forward stronger, learn to be strong like the body, as a collective body that way. Continuous learning. I'll be almost 60 years old, and I can tell you, I learn something new every day, and I have over the 60 years. And you will too. You may not realize it now, but I can honestly say every day I learn something today that I didn't know yesterday. Continuous learning is a good effective leader. To have an open mind. And I think that's extremely important. And the reason I wanted to bring up those 7 principles is because they're not only for you, but they're for the person that's sitting next to you as well. And I've heard that in speaking with Council Member Hayden, one of the problems that this board is having is attendance. And that's why I'm here today. You have a responsibility not only to yourself, but for the other people on this board. Just like I did. I took an oath back in 2017 when I was elected. I took an oath in January of this year when I was appointed the mayor. And that oath, many things to me, not just the words that I stated in that oath. That oath that I was going to be dedicated in my position. I was going to attend all the meetings. I was going to make sure I was prepared for those meetings. I was going to read the agenda, and I was going to have an opinion when I showed up in the chairs. They sit in the chairs that you're sitting. Those opinions sometimes may not be the same opinion of my colleagues, and that's okay. Because I was afforded the opportunity when I was elected to have an opinion voice, and a voice just like you have sitting there. You've been appointed like I was appointed in those chairs to sit in those chairs. You not only have a responsibility to yourself, to this board, the people that you represent. You are representing the youth of our city. So you can't take that lightly. And I will tell you that I've been here since 2017. I've never missed a meeting. There were two meetings that I was away for business for the city that I participated in a Zoom meeting, but I have been to every single meeting since 2017. And that is my commitment to my constituents that I represent. Just like you represent the youth of our city, you have an obligation to make sure that you're here, to make sure that they are being represented. That's why you're here. You're representing them. And that's why I take it serious. Make sure I'm here when I need to be. Sure, there's plenty of times that I arrange my family vacation. I arrange my schedule because I know the commitment that I made to my community was that I was going to participate in a meeting, have a voice and an opinion. That's what the same responsibility to take. You need to take while you're sitting here being appointed to that board. Now, I tell people all the time. A lot of people say, "Boy, I never want to do," and that's okay. Not everybody can. You're not only letting yourself down, letting the board down. You have some individuals here that are volunteering their time. You have Mr. Mazurkowitz. Mr. Mazurkowitz, he doesn't have to be here. He does it because he wants. He does it because he wants to. Because he wants sure that to make sure that he helps the future leaders of our city. That's why he's here. I know that's why he's told me that. He hasn't told me that. I know why he's here. But I know why he's here. Same thing with Councilmember Hayden. It's not in his job. It's not in his job description to step up. He didn't have to step up to the plate. He did that for you. He did that for you. So if you don't show up for your meetings, what does that say to them? What does that say to them? So we have to make sure. So we have to make sure that we take this seriously. Seriously, must be responsible. Must be responsible not only for the people, that you're actually representing, the people that are, but for the people that are here for your success. For your success, they want you to be successful, and they're willing to give their time to be successful. So you're successful. You have to make sure that you're doing your end of the deal. Your end of the deal too. I tell my son, my son's a senior in college. And I know that's why some of you are here, because this is going to be very good to put on your resume when you apply for college. I just want to remind you, this is a public meeting. So when you're applying for this, maybe that job, 10 years, you put this down on your resume. Those companies or the colleges, they can look back and they can see what your attendance records, how committed you were, how dedicated you were. They knew that you stepped up to the plate. But when they review the attendance records that could either help you or hurt you, or that could hurt you. So the reason I wanted to stop by today is to make sure that you are committed and that you're dedicated for yourself, that you're representing the team and the team established here. I think this is a great organization. This was Councilmember Williams' ideal many years ago, and I think you have a golden opportunity to participate. You have to be able to recognize that also. So I want to thank you for stepping up to the plate, for sitting in those chairs. I just want you to understand that there's a responsibility that comes along with sitting in those chairs. I just want to make sure that this board is represented by each and every individual, that you are as successful as possible. And by doing that, the first thing that comes to mind is you have to attend the meeting to be successful. So thank you for what you do. I appreciate what you do.
Thank you, Mayor Gunter. Is there any member discussion? On behalf of everyone, I just want to thank you again. I think that what you said can really be taken account of each and every one of us. And I think that if all of us work together to implement that and honestly keep each other accountable for that and hold that responsibility, I think that we can accomplish great things together.
Yeah, thank you. And I'd recommend Councilmember Hayden to maybe give you a copy of our council rules of procedure to show you how we hold ourselves accountable and an expectation that we set on ourselves. And I think that may help this board, not only this board, but future boards, students who come here in the future. So I think Councilmember Hayden provides that. Make sure he provides that for you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Is there any other member discussion? All right. Seeing none, we will move on to agenda item 9, recommendations. Today I wanted to discuss the required memorandum to the City Council. Each even-numbered year, City Council shall conduct an annual review of the benefits derived from the continued existence of the Youth Council. Are there any objections to me as chair working with staff to complete the memorandum on behalf
we're going to need the physical. So I just want to wonder how we're going to like get the art for the year deadline. Or there's a certain deadline that we're going to have that transferred to the gala area.
So I believe that for right now, we're just taking the submissions through our email. That goes to the physical art pieces. Just for future reference, any band or choir ornaments can be sent through a YouTube link, and then the link can be emailed to us as well. That's going to be the easiest way for all of us to view, and we'll be collecting the physical pieces. We haven't quite decided on how we're doing that yet. So I will look to the advisors for a suggestion on what's the best way.
Thank you, Chair Young. What I would suggest at this point, obviously, give them my point of contact. As the date gets closer, I will make physical arrangements with them, depending on how fragile they may want to deliver them. So I don't want to make any recommendations until we actually see what it is. And I would speak to the person personally to the person dropping it off, and we'll make arrangements to them directly.
Thank you, Ms. Strickland. Thank you, Ms. Strickland. My next update would be for I'm gonna go with member band. The band and choir update. Do you have any update? If you've emailed them, or any submissions we may have. I as well reached out to all the band and choir directors, and I haven't received any comments back, but I did kind of direct them into the direction, so I'm not sure how much responses I would receive personally, other than just like but I sent them contact information, all the background information on what our project Spring Gala, what it is, and the poster for Spring Gala and the call for this. And so all that information is now out to all the directors, choir and band directors. And I personally am meeting with my own band director, just so I can physically handle things. So that's where we kind of are right now. I haven't personally received any submissions, but I did tell them to go to Ms. Strickland. Thank you so much. All right. The next update I would like is from member Lynn. Volunteer last time to be in charge of reaching out to our DJ. Do you have an update on that? I contacted our DJ, and he said yes, he would be available on the day of our stand-up. So if the stand-up last year, the stand-up last year, which is 7th. And I believe he has sent the contract. And Ms. Strickland, do you have confirmation of that?
I have not received it yet, but yes, Peter had reached out to me actually before, so yes, I will follow up with him, but we have him in the books and everything, so we're good on that end.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Just for record, so that way member Rodriguez and member Rodrigo look back on the video, they know. I will need your update in the future on a caterer and the culinary programs. So in regards to member Brooker, he actually reached out to myself as well as the city clerk. He does not have any additional information at this point in time to provide to us. He's reached out to Oasis School. We'll get back to him. I know he was having an issue trying to get a hold of somebody. I had reached out to the other two members that were from Cape Coral. High school. I'm not sure if you were able to provide any other details. I sent teacher an email, but teacher just when you go on our school's website, it doesn't say your name. It's teacher next to it. So I made sure to send an email.
Perfect. Okay. But as of today, he doesn't have any additional updates. In regards to the caterers, I had reached out to member Rodriguez. He had sent me paperwork from the Paradise Deli. But unfortunately, there was no additional information he could provide me at that time as to produce. To be truthfully honest with you, we are 5 weeks away from the gala, and I am getting very stressed out that we don't have a caterer. So to be truthfully honest with you, I think we're taking another route as long as everyone agrees. I am currently working with a lady from the Chimney Balls Kitchen. I was hoping to have a little better information today to give you today, but I do not. If you guys agree upon going ahead and choose that, as soon as I have pricing and availability, and at least what we can choose from, I will send out that email, so at least maybe we can choose what we're going to do. we're going to get. But I really think at this point in time in the game, we cannot wait another week or two to choose a caterer, because they also are going to have to staff for it as well. The only option we have on the table right now is two meatballs in the kitchen. It does sound like honestly they are going to give us a very good deal. With me saying that is actually Councilmember Hayden's wife, Joanne Hayden. She currently does the mayor's scholarships, which you guys know she was here to speak to. And they have given her a good deal. She was kind enough to send me that information. Knowing that they have given her that deal, I'm sure that same deal will fall back upon us. So if you guys can go ahead and agree upon that tonight, and allow me to continue with that, I honestly think that's going to be our best route, and I would feel much more comfortable saying that we have a caterer. I completely agree. Thank you for reaching out to them, by the way. I do appreciate it. Personally, I think that's a fantastic option. To move forward with that, can I take a voice vote, or can we just get that? Okay, just without objection.
You have a budget for that, you're budgeted that up in your account, your balance, so it's just administrative. Administrative. So without objection, we will put Ms. Riglin in charge of contact with two meatballs in the kitchen. Okay, so moved. Alrighty. The other point that I wrote down that was concern to me was that we didn't have any music, which was something that Ms. Riglin had brought up to me. Now that we have the DJ figured out, I think that's a good portion of it. But I don't want anything to be overshadowed with performances, because intertwined with our whole theme, but we really want to focus on student performances. So please keep communicating. Anybody knows interested, somebody who's saying somebody who is an instrument, tell them to submit, because they might want to, and it could be a good opportunity for them. Keep in mind there's going to be a lot of people there, so opportunity not just to meet people, but for networking and opportunities. There are some good opportunities there for them. The other thing that I wanted to bring up was that March 1st was our previous deadline for the art submission, so we will need to choose a new deadline. I'm thinking that since the gala is beginning of April, we choose. I would say. Let me check my calendar real quick. Sorry. All right. So the gala is April, and then I think if we chose a date around March 20th or March 20th, exactly. That would give us about 2 weeks. Gather everything physically. Does everybody agree with that? Okay with that? All right. Can I have a motion to approve March 20th as the new art submission date for the spring gala? I motion to approve March 20th as the date for the spring gala. I have a second. I second that motion. Now made the motion. And second. All in favor? Any opposed? Awesome. Thank you guys. I will now open the floor up for any other member updates. Member McMillan. So as we had talked about last meeting, I wanted to bring it up one more time, and again before I ended up printing out an advertisement in our paper. I ended up doing a edition this past week. So I did put together the advertisement for us. It detailed the gala and the fact that our students can submit pieces to the gala, and then it also had our cleanup. So all of the stuff that we were kind of working on. That has been printed, and probably the most I've picked up thing this year. I've done this year. Every class I've gone to, I haven't seen a single one, just because we talked about some changes in the districts. If people were really interested in it, they've been spread out everywhere. I can assure you of that. I also think teacher likes to use the papers for
hopefully the kids will see it there too, but they also should have access to it in their class. So that has been printed, and there's no like time and money or anything like that. Money or anything like that. It's either $40 or $40. And they I think it's $30 that comes out to $30. If you want to just confirm that, once you confirm that, just send me an email, and then I'll have that email, and I'll go ahead and purchase it, and it'll just come out at the end of that. Just let me know how many they actually use. And then for sponsorships, I talked to every single money, and I told them where the job has the money, and has anyone done that? So I'm glad you actually bring that up. As of today, I do have sponsorships from the following people. Gloria Tate, was at 300, Painters Union and Traders Union at 500. We had a new edition this year called Affordable Southwest Florida. If I can interject in there, that is Chair Young's grandmother has kindly donated us $300. So as of today, we're at $1,100 in donations. So we should also be waiting on for foundation. She has all the information. She responded. She at least has it and is aware of it. She should be getting that. Anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know what I have in my hand today. So you guys know, by all means, I know it's just a matter of catching up with her. So. If you need an invoice? No. Yes. It was take a zero off 500. That's it. Are we going more sponsorship? Should I work on continuing to try to contact people that have not gotten back to me, or what I would suggest, it's not a matter of what you guys are paying out, but it's a matter of your legacy too that you're giving to. By all means, if you collecting that more sponsorships, the more banners. I mean, people. So it's all about the networking, and really it's the end result. What you guys are trying to obtain. You're trying to obtain your legacy and get your legacy and beat last year's. And in addition to that, I also wanted to let you know that I did look at the sales of this morning. We have $240 in sales. One of our kind directors was nice enough to purchase a table of 8. So once again, that link has been out now for 2 weeks. So I hope that we blasting that on social media pages, you guys on your end, because where are the youths going to come from? Where you guys are sending out among your peers. I don't know to get that link out. You need to keep sending the link out.
Madam Chair, sponsorships. And I apologize because I don't remember. Did you contact LCAC? Because didn't they? I believe I gave you a point of contact for LCAC. You might have. Karen Ryan. Yep. Karen Ryan. Yep. She's giving me a synopsis and what you want and. And I can certainly create that if that's what she needs. So. She creates that committee. Okay. Because they have been contributing to everyone prior to this point. Not particularly our galas, but they are the ones who actually pay for the shirts. Who covered LC last year? Was LC $1,100 some dollars? Yeah. Maybe you're right. Anyway, that would be a good one. So. But yeah, I know she's got Karen's number. I had given it to her originally. That's a good one. That's a good one to follow up with. Is there anybody who is? I stand corrected. Mind is a wonderful thing. So yes, please reach out to Karen again. They were very kind enough. They paid our entire catering. All she needed was the invoice. So please reach out to her. Thank you, Ms. Green.
I'm currently working on formatting the official and formal email that's going to be an invite to the council directors and city managers. I'm almost done with them. I'm just working on some finishing touches. So that will be sent out very shortly. Just so everybody knows. Is there any other member updating for anything?
We'll go ahead with yours. I'm sorry. So previous in past involvement with the Florida Association of Student Councils, one of the things we're responsible for is just a skit, and it has to do with not exactly my point, but we're making a coffee a tree, and it's going to be a tree. We're talking about ecology, so one side is going to be a little bit of lazy Susan, and one side is look a little withered, not taking care of the other side is going to look beautiful and blossoming. That's the thing we can probably use. Beautiful side. Blossoming, beautiful side. If you guys would, it's not completely finished, otherwise I would have sent a picture. But we're working on that, and that's going to be done by late March, because that's when our conference. But I was wondering if perhaps when we finish this, if I could send a picture for you, just for consideration, for perhaps an additional decoration, just because I know that anything will help, and I love the theme, so I think that would fit rather well.
Absolutely. I don't see why there'd be a problem with it. I think if it's definitely like I stated before, it's the room, the space, actually centers. Actually, it's really big. It's a lot. So take that into account. I've said before, I'm like a green button. If you guys have any sort of greenery or instead any type of decoration, I'm sure we can utilize it somehow somewhere in the space. Ms. Craven?
Thank you, Chair. Okay. The last update that I wanted to give you guys is in regards to the birdhouse project. So once again, it is scheduled at Lake Kennedy Center Friday, March 18th. I have purchased and assembled all of the 24 birdhouses, and Ms. Park has them in her possession. She is choosing a date where her and the special population are going to at least do the base coat on it, so that it snows up for the most paint at that particular point in time. If you guys are in agreement, an idea that I had is once those birdhouses obviously are decorated, and however we were going to use them as centerpieces as part of that night's raffle. We can actually put numbers on the table, and each number will have a bucket, and we can raffle those birdhouses out at the end of the night. Once again, collect from there. You guys can decide. Do you want to keep that blessing? Do you want to use that? Do you want to use that raffle maybe towards the love life? We don't need to decide now. But just an idea of something that you can use. I did give everybody sign off sheets. As of right now, I only have 4 members attending, and I have 4 members that have not responded to. So I need to let Ms. Parks know so she knows how to set up the room that day.
I don't think I responded to either of the invites, but I had a question. I know in the previous meeting we had discussed only responding to the invite, and we were going to attend. Do you still want us to decline the one that we
Absolutely not going to it. You're not going to it. Decline, but you're referring to the 12th, where we had two different activities going on that day. But the only way I know who's attending or not attending is if you go out there and accept or decline those. Otherwise, I have to assume that you haven't seen it.
Thank you, Ms. Is there any other member or advisor updates for the spring gala? As a final wrap up, please continue to reach out to anybody you know who would be interested in either submitting or attending the gala. Please use your link and posters. Honestly, any of the posters that are current on our social media, try to post them on your Instagram stories or Snapchat. Try to get them out there, because at the end of the day, we're the ones who are really going to be moving this along and pushing it to people who want to attend. We want this gala to be more of a networking opportunity. We want the older population of Canberra to understand and see them coming out to something like this, see their artwork, hear what they can do. Honestly, I just want us to really impress them. At the end we have item 10B, 2022 FLC Youth Council Community Service Contest continued discussion. This is a continued discussion from the last meeting. I will now open the floor for any member discussion. Members address. So it's next Saturday, March 12th, and that's definitely an SAT day. I'm taking the SAT. I don't know if anyone else is. So I know we're planning on meeting at the yacht club to do like a council cleanup, but I don't think a lot of like students are going to be able to like council cleanup, but a lot of people will obviously be able to like submit on their own in like their street and in front of like their neighborhoods. Thank you for your update. If you haven't already, respond to the invites, and if you can't make it to the earlier morning beach cleanup, I know that the special population for the fashion show starts a little bit later in the day. I think it's 2 p.m. wasn't it? 2 p.m. wasn't it? Actually the cleanup obviously is from 9 to 12. The fashion show is from 10:30 to 1. Oh, 10:30 to 1. Never mind. Sorry. Someone else said their members over here. Oh, members.
So Mr. Hayden, Councilmember Hayden has sent me contacts to spread awareness about the Full Start project. Contacted News Press, Breeze, actual contact, and had trouble contacting, and the Breeze has already said that they are posting our poster on social media. I'll get back to you if they don't send me emails or posting it too.
Awesome. Thank you for letting out. Member Bernard, as I talked about last meeting, I just kind of wanted to show that how it has worked and how I followed through with it. I have reached out to different organizations within my school. I personally serve as secretary of the environmental club, so I added it to our agenda, and I ordered our other two officers to what we're doing, get started what we're doing. So we are challenging all of our environmental club members to go out into their community. We're going to have our own environmental club. Encouraging them to go into their homes and into their neighborhoods and clean up as well. We're very excited that we're going to be branching out within Norfolk Waters High School and things like that, doing things like that. We'll be seeing some more posts on Instagram coming soon. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Alrighty. As a reminder, the deadline to submit all the materials to Ms. Strickland is going to be April 5th. Not the deadline, the final deadline is April 15th. Ms. Strickland's deadline is, I believe, April 6th. April 4th. April 4th. And Member McMonagall Hall had volunteered to do a slideshow with access. You'll have access to all the pictures after the cleanup day. The essay was member of City volunteered to keep that up. So those will be getting done after the cleanup day, obviously. And as another reminder, if you haven't responded to the invites, I've said before, I'm victim of please do so. Literally, once we get the know you guys, don't accept your decline. I figure all of you what kind of was going on in your schedule approaching the date. So please do so we can get an understanding of who's going to be where and when. Thank you guys. Moving along, we have item 10C, joint council meeting continued discussion. I will now open the floor for any member discussion. As my update, I began working on an email with the tentative agenda for the joint council meeting. I just basically took everything that we voted on last time and I put it in the email. I'm kind of just cleaning that up as well. And then March 30th was chosen as our joint council meeting date. You guys should have received an invite in your outlook yesterday or this morning. Along with the other invites, try to get it on your schedule. This is one of the events that I would say every member should try to be at. I know we just talked about responsibility and holding each other accountable. And this is kind of my way of doing so. I'm a very busy person myself. I'm a senior in high school. I'm drowning in schoolwork as well. All of you are. I'm sure all of you are. I'm finding a way to put it on my schedule and make time for it. This is something I made a commitment for. I'm not up here all the time just because I want to. Some days I'm having really bad place, and this last place I want to be because I'd rather be in bed. And I'm still trying to be here every day for everyone. And my text messages, my emails to you guys, those are my reminders that I care for you guys, and I care for this council a lot. I really want us to succeed, and I truly think that a lot of the juniors on this board could benefit from the meeting, but especially anybody who would be interested in taking up a vice chair or chair position next year, and even leadership.
Keys to show up, we can at least get a show up, and it is very important that in the next week or so that you accept or decline, because you have to remember it's going to happen in the diet. So not only are we going to have city council up there, but our city clerk and facilities, he's going to set up tables and chairs down here. So we need to let them know in advance so that they can put in their work orders to know how many people are coming and how many tables. Please. I stress it up next week and a half. Next week, we're going to have at the very latest accept or decline the invite.
Thank you, Ms. Strickland. Are there any other member or advisor updates?
Sure. Just add on a little bit to that. Council did approve the meeting. We also have full support from us. They all plan to be there that night. They are already making that commitment. I expect the same from this group as well. I think you'll probably see staff maybe do a presentation on the three main topics, how that will fit into what the city will look like 20 years from now, how it look for you if you're living in the city then. They're really going to gear it towards your interest. You might want to decide who is asking what questions so that you're not overlapping. I think that can probably be done through email, Ms. Greg, and council will respond to questions after your questions after that presentation, and it will be conducted just like any other meeting. But I've also encouraged Connie to reach out to various charities, committees to see if they want to come and public input about what they do. They play an important role as yours, making recommendations to council staff and to council. We're really trying to put together a program that will be very informative to you. So again, I hope that you'll all be able to be there. Typically would be an off day for council. We are making use that day to be with you. So that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Hayden. Building upon that, I think that it would be more beneficial to assign questions or potentially do like a volunteer system for the questions. I think it's going to be too hard to figure out, but right now, I think there's a way to do it through word or like a poll sort of. But who would be interested in what I'd like to figure out? Our three topics are the youth needs, healthcare, and then the preservation of Cape Coral history. I know that Member McMillan said she wanted to do the future of Cape Coral. I'll put her name down for that. For a show of hands, could I get youth needs who would be interested in asking questions or presenting upon that? And then
I'm sorry if I may stop you. I think there's a little confusion on what the 3 topics were based on the notes from the last particular meeting. It should be the 3 main topics are youth needs, and underneath that category is mental health and future of education. The next topic was environment, which is environmental conservation and pollution. And the last main topic was future growth plans, which had to deal with the traffic, road development, and other large projects, and healthcare.
Sorry, notes. My notes got a little messy. So now I will put Reamer and graduates down for youth needs. And then for environmental concerns, I will put Member McMillan. Is there anybody else who's interested? McMonagle Hall. Alrighty. And is there anybody interested in future plans? You want future plans? Okay, sorry. Youth needs, environmental concerns, and future plans.
Chair, I would suggest while you have somebody assigned to start off the questioning, that you leave it wide open and everyone can get at that point. You're going to get certain. You're going to have certain. Then you're going to have a member addressing the question within each area. But after that, it could be a free flowing discussion just by getting your hand and raising your hand and attention of the mayor. He can call on you and he will call on you and you can ask a question to him, respond to any issues that they raise. So it's not just limited to only the people we're picking people. So we make sure we have somebody thinking about each area, but we're not limiting to just those folks.
Okay, I understand.
So it's a more fruitful interaction with the city council.
Thank you. Okay, building on that, is there anybody who'd like to be, I guess, the person who starts off the questions for youth needs out of Brunel, Reamer, and Zadrowitz? Member Brunel? Alright, and then Member McMillan, I'll start you off for future plans. Is there anybody who'd like to volunteer to start the environmental concerns? Member McMonagle Hall. Alright, guys. Thank you guys. Thank you for participating. Chair, if you don't mind. We had set out this original, when we started this original discussion, we had a list of questions prepared. Is that archived somewhere in our previous meeting agenda, the minutes to find somewhere that I can also find on Outlook? I believe it is. I think it's from 2 meetings back. It should be on my
I know I handed out everybody with the questions. I could resend that out again. The questions that
that would be really helpful to me. Thank you so much, Mr. Crickland.
Is there any other member input? Okay. So to recap, March 30th is going to be the day joint council meeting. Please, if you have a pencil and paper right now, write yourself reminders to respond to the invite on Outlook. Ideally, when you get out of the meeting, that'd be great, guys. And then I will be finishing up the tentative agenda, and then I'll share a copy of that with you guys as well, so you can see what I put on there, and then I'll get that sent out. All right? Okay. Moving along, we have item 10D, junior project continued discussion. This is a continued discussion on the last meeting, and I will now open the floor for any discussion. Member Reamer.
So along with the Gala Art Solutions, I also sent all the high school art teachers and choral flyer of our mural project. So those should be in the school anytime now.
I appreciate that. And then the other thing I wanted to is that March 12th is our deadline for submissions for that. So something to take into account is that if we are not getting enough submissions by March 12th, we're gonna have to change the poster again, get it reapproved, and then repost it, and that would go into resending out all the emails that Member Reamer has finally sent out. So to me that just seems like a waste of our time as a council to have to keep doing that. A waste of Jamie's time. I think it is finally doing that for us also. So my question for you all, or my task would be to find 3 people in the grocery the street, something in the park, 3 people we know, kids to submit. Some could be your little brother, it could be your little brother, your sister. But we have to have 5 pieces, and the issue is that we only have 3 right now. We have to have 5, so that way we can have the 3 main ones, and then 2 back. That was told to the council probably a while back, probably 3 meetings ago. We all knew this. So I ask you guys to do things in hopes that you will, and this is genuinely something that I really need you guys to do. In order to change that date again, you have to go through so many processes. Like I said, it's just a waste of our time at that point. It's been stated before. You guys all to this seat. I was appointed to this seat. We all have responsibilities. I know we're all busy, but you can't sit up here and want the title of being on this council and not do the work. I do expect that everybody is doing their part because we have to work together to get things done. And I know that you guys are all responsible individuals. But please write yourself in reminders. Try to remember to push this out. We've changed the date already, I think, 2 times now. And I really don't want to have to sit here at the next meeting and change it again. Because I just stated, it's just going to be a waste of time at the end. We have other projects that are, I wouldn't say are more important, but are of more urgency that we could be working on and spending more time on. Instead we have to continue to use Jamie and memorandum times and resend emails and change dates, and I'd like to not have to do that again. Is there any other member update?
Sure, real quick. If anybody has any free time tonight to help you along, Fort Marsh Art Walk is featuring high school art. So there'll be 60 to 70 high school groups. So it might be a really good opportunity for good face-to-face. Possibly get some art. I think it's submissions. I think it starts at 5:30 or 6 tonight. So anybody's got some free time.
Thank you, Mr. Hayden. With that being said, I would highly suggest that anybody try to do that, because that is quite literally the golden opportunity for us to promote not only the junior project, but our spring gala. It would be a really good opportunity for you guys. Is there any other member discussion? All right. Moving forward, we have 10 items, senior project continued discussion. This is a continued discussion from the last meeting, and I will now open the floor for any member updates or discussion. My update is I didn't quite have a full update. The only thing that I was really concerned about for the senior project was getting an update on the birdhouses. Grayland has gotten us a date. I really like the idea that we would be including the birdhouses in the raffle. I think that is a really personal touch, and it pulls on the heartstrings a little bit. I like it. And then the only other thing, the senior project that needs to be discussed is just a reminder to respond to the e-bite for the fashion show as soon as you guys can, because the senior project is working with Special Pop, and so that goes hand in hand with that. We haven't really done many face-to-face events with them this year. I know that we tried to use the fashion shows as one of them, which it does. So I would like to have you members, at least a few members there, if you can, since they did commit to it. So please respond to those e-bites so we can have an update on who is where and when. Any other member discussion? Moving forward, we have item 10F, the Love Lost project continued discussion. This is a continued discussion from the last meeting. I will now upload for any member updates or discussion.
Chair, I haven't called the engineer to see where he is with it. If I do it, he did commit to do it, so we're just a matter of engineers swamped, construction going on, but I'm sure he'll get us a sealed set of plans so we can go ahead and permit it. So, but I haven't followed up either, so I will communication with him before our next
so much. Thank you so much. Is there any other member update? Member Reamer?
And I wanted to ask you, Ms. Greg, on the fundraising capabilities that we have.
So yes, that's right. I was going to say it last meeting, but we didn't have a meeting. So yes, the good thing is we are able to fundraise. We did check against the ordinance that was actually recently adopted, and there is a provision in there that as long as City Council approved it, which Councilmember Hayden has already announced it at a City Council meeting, we are free to fundraise as we see fit.
Awesome.
So then what I'd like to ask the council here is like come with an idea like I might be able to use it to create at JC Park and fundraise and create another event. Anyone would be interested.
Before that, I reached out to Todd with special events. I know, I've been waiting. It's been long waiting. I haven't gotten a response from him yet, but I did email yesterday, I think it was. So hopefully I'll receive my email soon. My email basically, I just recapped the Love Blocks project, kind of what it was, where it was located, what the actual structure is, and then I said that we were looking for an opportunity where we could potentially set up a booth or some food at a movie night or any other event that he sees. I did check the North End Recreation and the special events calendar. There's a number of events coming up within the next month, I would say. There's also hopefully he'll get back on me with an update on something we can do. But building on Member Reamer's update, I think it is a good idea to have something else we can fundraise. I know I had previously talked about the idea of a car wash. I've seen many people do them, and we could. I think it's relatively inexpensive to make one happen. So if you guys like that idea, I can write it down. Member Bernal. I love the ideas that have been presented. I wanted to throw something else into the mix. I know within student government we recently adopted something to our Red Knight Foundation at school, and we did sponsor. So basically you have a month of days. You can do it virtually, which is really helpful because you can say, hey Grandma, do you want to sponsor? It doesn't matter where people don't band together and get sponsored. Basically you have days 1 through 30 or whenever you're doing sponsor month, and each day is worth however many. So if it's day one, of the month, then it's $1. And at the very end, you can take sponsorships. As it fills up, you can take sponsorships regardless of the day. By multiple days. So if March 15th has already been bought, you can buy it once again. But we have implemented this very recently within our student government. It's been very effective. We've raised a lot of money, and it's going to help all of our events and all of our community service projects. It was just very effective, and I felt that it was a nice resource, and it was surprisingly effective. And kids got really involved. Kids got kind of competitive because we made it a competition. I realized we can't really do that, but we did it here, but we did it between classes. Maybe you would be interested in something like that. I do think that virtual options are viable and really helpful if we want to ask for support from different members of our community. My only concern about the car wash is that we tried to do a car wash one time, and it did prove to be a little bit more expensive than we thought. It leaves a bad taste in my mouth every time I kind of hear about it. But I would be really interested in trying to do it well and do it effectively. And I'm just a little apprehensive, a little hesitant to move forward with a car wash or kind of that debacle. But I think that any type of fundraiser I would really support. Thank you, Member Bernal. I actually have a question. I like the idea of sponsorship month. What did you call it? Sponsor month. Pretty cool. The only question I had was, I know that we tried to maybe setting up a GoFundMe, and the concern was that for city records and there's only one credit card, something like that. I'm
is like an online website that you can do it through, and it's official. And so you can use like your credit card to just submit money. It was just online. It was just through our Red Foundation website. We put like a little link there on there. That's how students had access to it. But I can definitely share. That is a very good point. I wasn't sure if Linda just said what Miss Linda just said about like what we can use or what we can't. So I can send you the link to the website, and we can use it if we are allowed.
Yeah. So just to clarify, I mean, obviously, like I had to kind of explain more. So, for example, the ticket link that we use for the gala, is merely a link. All I have access to is to see the accounting to get people so that I can print out the spreadsheet. But I don't even see transactions of that money or anything of that nature. It's all done at the very, very end. Once they take their fees or whatever out of it, then I get sent one lump check to the city, and it goes directly into. So that's all we need. For auditing purposes, if we would ever get audited, we have to have a trail of what event did we start, where did we use, where did the funds go, and so forth. So the key thing is just the trail. So it is a link of that nature where all we need to do is contact person and set it up. Absolutely, I can certainly work on that. But it has to be something of that nature. There is no exchange of monies whatsoever until the very end. If you could, send that link over to Ms. Greg so she could look into that for us. Is there any other member update for a volunteer fundraising opportunity for us? All right.
Before you leave, that estimated cost. Do we have an estimated cost for the Lovelock?
No, I was waiting on the engineer report to talk with building.
I figured you need one, but I was thinking is in the vicinity of hundreds, thousands.
I'm really not sure. He said you really need that engineering report to, Mr. Circle, if you could send before the meeting, if you could send me any information to have so I can get an estimate before.
Alrighty. With that being said, I'd like everyone to try and brainstorm. I will send out a text reminder probably sometime in the middle of next week. Remind me all that I would like at least two fundraising ideas per person. I'm not really asking. I'm kind of telling you guys because this is something we really need to do. And I think your friend Google could help everyone out. Please just go on Google and Pinterest. If it comes down to it, I will suggest a lemonade stand for us. I'll make you all wear little hats too. I don't think you want that.
I have a question. Have we ever at the gala, offered up any fundraising opportunities there or silent auction items?
At all of our previous galas, we have not talked about it. We have not indulged or talked about fundraising.
Silent auction baskets were together baskets for together baskets from each of your schools as representation. Whatever might be a way to raise some quick money that night. All this stuff's coming up. Something to think about. Most of the galas these days, whatever, include these silent auctions.
I actually really like that idea. I think it could be cool to have a basket sort of represented. For example, if we did like a Nick Provider's basket, what I did was like some merch and then little dad gifts that kind of go along with our representation and who we are as a school, and obviously nights in there because that could be mascot. I think it would be really cute for each individual to try and make a little basket. So I'm gonna write it down. And I think it could be considered as a good option. Is there any other member update? Alrighty. So with that being said, I expect that everyone update me as needed. Remember to check on those fundraising ideas. Next meeting, hopefully we will have an update from Mr. Mazurkowitz about the item 11, next meeting agenda. Are there any other topics to consider? Okay, I'm going to say to include business items 10A, 10D, 10C, 10D, E, and F. Can I have a motion to add 10 business items 10A through 10F to the next meeting agenda? Member Brunel?
I move to adopt business items 10A through 10F to our next meeting agenda.
Could I have a second? Member Michael? I second that motion. Member now made the motion, and Member Michael made the second. We will now take a voice vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item 12. I will now open any reports from youth council members. If any member is going to speak, state their name first. Before I read what's on my little paper, I did want to say that we had our report presentation. It was right before last meeting hour at Kansas. I just want to thank everybody who came out to that. I really appreciate it. I think that we made a really good impression on that. And I can speak for everyone who was there. We were goofing around at the beginning of it. We were all just having fun, laughing, and talking. And I honestly think that was a really good opportunity for me to get to know a little better, see your personality. Sometimes it's kind of hard up here to I guess look at people like they're friends, because I haven't really met you guys like friends. And that's what I was hoping to get out of some of these events that we're doing in the future. I really want this group to be closer, especially I really think it's beneficial when the group knows each other and feels comfortable to contact each other. And it could be useful in the sense if you feel like something is too much of a workload, you can ask somebody who's on the council, say, hey, could you help me out with this? As long as it doesn't waste time, obviously. But honestly, my goal by the end of the year is that this group gets a little bit closer. Because you all are amazing people, motivated people, and amazing people. And I think that the closer we get as a council, the more productive we can be. So thank you guys again. I did want to announce that the City of Cape Coral Youth Council is accepting applications for rising sophomores who will be juniors. Applications are due no later than 4:30 p.m. on Friday, March 18, 2022. The application can be obtained under the City Clerk's Office, the City Clerk's Department on CapeCoral.gov, or staff has extra copies that may be obtained at the conclusion of the meeting. Are there any other member reports? Member Brunel?
So I simply wanted to agree with you. I really very rewarding, and I love getting to know you guys. Something that I started within my student government was I kind of felt like there was just a nice relationship, but I wanted to get to know my class better. So we started doing coffee and contemplation. We kind of took it from Stranger Things this morning, so for coffee, this morning, so we're calling at the end of the week. But at the end of the week, we would go to Starbucks and we wouldn't really talk about student government. Get to know each other as just people and classmates and peers and friends. So I found that was really useful. I'd love to kind of maybe say something like that. I think that would be really valuable. So I really agree with you. I think that's really valuable. But something again, I just kind of want to completely switch topics again, talk to you once again about the autism walk. So you guys know that we have an autism walk at Notre Dame High School at 9:30 a.m. It's open to the community. I'd just like to encourage you to keep branching out and as representatives of your school, kind of extend your voice, to that topic and tell your peers about that. It's really amazing. We had the amazing opportunity of moving it from Naples to here, our home. That would be really great. I think that would be really great. I could see you guys there, your family, your friends. It's open to everybody. So your little kids, sisters can come too. We're going to have sensory stations being good information amazing. It's just going to be amazing. It's just going to be about inclusion within our district and our community. So that'd be really amazing to have you guys. I'd be interested if Member McMillan, I'd love to reach out to making an advertisement within your school paper or something. Perhaps after the meeting, I'd love to talk to you about that. If anyone else is involved in our newspaper or any other means of getting information out to the public, I'd love to work with you guys. put together an ad, send you a video information, with some information, because I'd love to just reach out and take me. But I'm going to talk about this. But it's something I'm really passionate about. It's an amazing opportunity. We're going to be really pushing that forward as we get closer. So 9:30 a.m. From 9:30 a.m. From my school track, I'll be there. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, member Bernal. Thank you, member. Are there any other member updates? Seeing none, we'll move on to item 13, reports of the liaison and staff. Are there any reports of the advisor liaison, advisors, or staff? Ms. Grigglin.
I was at the meeting when the major presentation, I want you to know the impact you had. I was sitting in the back where I always said, the response from people around me were amazed. I mean, they just couldn't, very impressed. They were very impressed with your presentation. They were very impressed with the amount of work that you're doing for the city. And you left everybody with a really good feeling. It was well done. It's worth the time to go make that pitch every quarter. If you haven't been part of it, you need a learning experience. Get up on TV and make the presentation. Not everyone gets to do it. Well done. Very well done. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chair Young. So once again, I just wanted to let you guys know that I did stumble upon a scholarship that would, the seniors obviously could partake in. I'm sure you guys have heard the Do the Right Thing program, as well as the Fraternal Order of Police Lodge 33 handing out actually 6 scholarships. Like I said, basically all you need to be is a senior, grade point average 2.5, and then better resume, and then include a resume with deadline. And if you see the deadline and that was part of your backup, the deadline is April the 29th. And then the only other thing that I did want to add, I know some of our current members may have not met them, but we haven't talked about him quite frequently. Councilmember I actually did get a chance to talk to him the other day, and he did want to thank us graciously for the plaid. I know we wanted to try to present it to him when he was currently here, but due to circumstances, that was just not something possible. But he did receive it. He was very thankful for it. He's hoping to get a good picture. So maybe next week, whenever we have our next council meeting, if people want to come 10 minutes earlier, maybe we can just take a group shot and we can send that out to him. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Are there any other reports? Next is time and place of the next meeting of the Cape Coral Youth Council is Friday, March 11th, 2022 at 3 p.m. in Council. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Member Bernal? A motion to adjourn our meeting. Can I have a second? Member Zadrowitz? I second that motion. Bernal made the motion, and Zadrowitz made the second. We will now take a voice vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Sorry. What am I supposed to say? Oh, we're adjourned. Bam.
There is a concept called social determinants of health. So what we have seen is that what happens in the doctor's office or in the hospital is only a small part of keeping people healthy. Their social environment, which is, whether you have friends, whether you walk outside, whether, you can rely on people to help you at home, whether you have psychological problems, whether you have depression, those things have a much bigger effect on health. And then also, the environment, the pollution, all those things, they add up And so what we have seen is that what we can tackle is only in the hospital or in the clinic is only very small. But all these other things become a much bigger part. You know, how is your family? You know, do you have a good support system to keep you mentally healthy and socially healthy? Those things have a major impact on health.
Now, mental health is a very big issue. Some people are hospitalized for mental health issues. So does the type of AI you're working on help with mental health issues, like people who display certain behavioral patterns are more likely to become serial killers? And can we tag people and say, you're likely to be extremely antisocial, so we better put you away before you do anything?
No, but definitely depression is a big area, and people, you know, who abuse drugs or who tend to commit suicide, and those things, those are very big areas for study. And I'm sure our artificial intelligence will be very useful in those cases.
In developing AI, does that give us any insight into how our own minds work? Because you're trying to replicate a mind. So is that helpful in understanding ourselves by trying to create thinking machines?
Yeah, I think we're just scratching the surface right now. I think, you know, obviously brain is the most complex machine. I don't think we have learned even 1% of how the brain works. So there's a lot of potential to understand how it works and how we can replicate that.
I understand you're writing a book. What's your book going to be about?
Of course, it is about artificial intelligence. It's called Punish the Machine. In other words, punish the machine, spare the doctors, save the patients.
Punish the machine, meaning make the machine do all the work?
Do most of the work. Because what's happening is that there's a big problem with burnout for physicians right now. And one of the things is that, you know, the technology that we have is not that great. And so it makes the doctors work more entering data, you know, using the electronic health record. And so one of the big reasons for burnout is this extra work that is added onto a physician's daily routine. And
has that gotten worse in recent years?
Yeah, because there's more things to document, there's more things to track.
I know there's more paperwork with the government and Medicare and insurance and stuff like that.
Exactly, the regulatory agencies for the reimbursement, you know, to protect yourself from medical legal risk. So all those things add up because they keep adding to the doctor's workload. So where I am seeing is that where AI becomes, it's in the background so that the doctor doesn't have to physically do things, whereas the machines will be doing most of the work, and the doctor will be doing what doctors do best, which is communicating with the patient, showing empathy to the patient, figuring out things that machines can't figure out. So that's where I see this technology will actually help doctors get over this extra workload that is happening right now.
And doctors have to show empathy. Isn't empathy itself part of the healing process? Like, people might get stronger if they feel that somebody empathizes with them?
That's a huge part. You know, I see patients all the time. They come in anxious and they have all these symptoms, and then when they come in to see us or see me, and they're laying in their bed, you know, I ask them, "How are you feeling?" I say, "Oh, yeah, I feel much better." I haven't even talked with the patient, but I just met them, and just for them to be in a situation where they know that they're being taken care of calms them down. A lot of their symptoms get better. So a lot of disease, what we see is a lot of it is psychological too.
We just have about a minute left. Where do you think this is going? Like, where will we be in like 5 years or 10 years from now? Will it just be automatic? You go to the doctor, looks at your symptoms, types a few buttons, and say, "Oh, you've got 75% certainty you have a certain ailment."
So, you know, through my work, you know, from the physician entrepreneur group that I run, I come across all these new companies that are developing these technologies, and I advise them. One of them is Featherlink and those kinds of companies.
I'm afraid I'm going to have to cut you off because I just got the signal. We're going to have to wrap. Sorry about that. But it's been a great interview. Thank you for coming. Thank you for watching. Visit our website, www.futuretalk.net, For Future Talk, I'm Marty Wasserman, and we'll see you next time.
New Medicare cards are coming. Medicare is mailing you a new card between April 2018 and April 2019. Your new Medicare card has a Medicare number that's unique to you instead of your Social Security number. This will protect your identity and keep your information safe. Medicare will never ask you to give us personal or private information or charge you a fee to get your new Medicare number and card. And you don't need to take any action to get your new card. Just make sure your mailing address is up to date. If your address needs to be corrected, contact Social Security at socialsecurity.gov/myaccount or call 1-800-772-1213. You can find more details about when cards are being mailed to your area at go.medicare.gov/newcard. Then watch your mailbox for your new card to arrive. Once you get your new card, destroy your old card and start using the new one right away. New card, new number, better protection for your personal information.
Hello and welcome to Corner Gallery. I'm your host, Romero Starks, and on this show we interview artists that are featured here at Lindenwood in our Boyle Art Gallery. Today I have some students on the show, and for starters we're going to talk to Marcella Tobar. Marcella, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So Marcella, tell me what made you decide to pursue art?
Well, since I was a kid, I've always been so interested in art. So my mom and my parents encouraged me to do it because they saw that there was like talent in me.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say maybe inspired that?
Well, I've always been very drawn to like draw what I see or how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom used to tell me that instead of doing like letters or stuff like that, I would make drawings for her when she got mad and stuff like that. It was funny.
Gotcha. So what made you decide to pursue art here at Lindenwood?
Well, I was looking for schools when I graduated high school. One of my best friends came here, and she told me about the school, and I started looking into it, and they have a good art program, so I was like, yeah, that seems like a good option, so I applied.
Mm-hmm. And just for curiosity's sake, where are you from, Marcella?
I am from El Salvador.
So Lindenwood is pretty far off the radar for you. Yeah.
Two planes away.
Gotcha. So what would you say is your favorite medium of art? You mentioned you draw a lot.
I do draw a lot. I really, really like watercolor though, and drawing, yeah. But I really don't have a specific medium that I love to do the most. I'm still like trying to search for one so I can like be better at like one specific thing, but I generally like a lot of them.
Gotcha. So what is your major? As far, because I'm sure, I don't know much about the art program here at any school, but I'm sure you don't just major in art. There's a specific field. So what is your major?
There's some people that major in art, but mine's more specific. Mine is studio art with emphasis in pre-art therapy. So I'm trying to become an art therapist.
Mm-hmm. So define art therapy for me.
Art therapy is when you use art as a medium to help other people, like mentally, like a psychologist. So I know that most people have heard of music therapy.
Right.
Art therapy, it's kind of the same thing, but instead of using music, you do art. You teach them to do art so they become good at expressing their feelings towards art.
Gotcha. What made you want to get into art therapy, though, as opposed to just doing art professionally or in any other way? What made you want to drive that towards a therapeutic?
Well, back home, I used to go on mission trips a lot, and I've always been really drawn to talking to a lot of people, and I always had this personality that cares and wants to know about them. So my whole life, I was trying to look for something that has a mixture of both of them, helping other people, but also doing something that I love, which is art, which I've done for a long time. So I kind of found these two things that tie together by art therapy. So it was yeah, that's the right thing to do.
Gotcha. So did you always kind of have a feeling you wanted to do that? You mentioned you were drawing pictures for your mom. When she'd get upset, did you just start off very young as an art therapist? I make people feel good through pictures.
Yeah, actually, maybe I did, because my mom says that when she did parties in the house, I would sit on front of the house, in the door, and I would have tiny pictures to give to people when they got in, and everyone would always react they would be happy, they're this really weird kid is giving me a picture. It's funny.
That's good, and I think we take for granted how much art can make you feel a certain way.
Yeah.
A lot of people think of art as just pictures or paintings, and it's just what it is, but they don't really think about how much feeling can be evoked through art, or how soothing it can be, or how therapeutic it can be.
Yeah. There's some people, I've even used it myself, when I've had rough patches in my life. I usually come to art and I express the way I feel through my art.
Got you. So what, post-graduation, obviously you want to get into art therapy, but do you at all plan to do any freelance artwork for yourself, or?
I mean, to a certain extent, I feel like artists do kind of do some art by themselves and because of the enjoyment of doing art. I do want to become an art therapist, that's for sure. Let's see how that path goes, because I'm not from here.
Right.
And back home, we actually don't have this as a major. That's why I knew I needed to go overseas, because my probabilities of going back home and doing this specifically are harder than if I stay here, if I go somewhere else.
Gotcha. So what would you say, where do you get your inspiration for your artwork?
Well, it's really funny because it can go from almost anything. Sometimes you just sit and you start thinking of things that you feel connected to. Sometimes your friends inspire you, sometimes your family inspire you, sometimes the situations around you, my country, my life. Sometimes it's just about what's happening at the moment or what you're thinking about.
Gotcha. When making pieces of art, is that something that you typically, it takes you a couple of days, or you kind of stretch the project out, or do you like to just sit down and grind it out until you can get it done?
Well, it depends. It depends on the day and on the project. Usually if it's something for the school, you have specific things that you have to do, and then you make them. Sometimes it takes 10 hours, sometimes it takes more. It depends on how detailed or how specific you want the piece to be. I personally, when it's my own, sometimes I take longer because I like to do something and then admire it for a while and then try to work on the stuff that I feel are missing.
Got you. So with this particular piece, I remember when you were starting on this one here, closest to me, how long as a total project, because there's a third piece that we aren't getting to see, how long as a total project did this take you?
Well, I had a due date, so it took maybe a week and a half or something like that.
All three pieces?
I wasn't working on it 24/7, but I was investing a lot of my time into doing it. And I think that you can do it in maybe in 2 sittings and you can complete it, but the fact that we have other stuff to do, other finals and stuff like that, we are working on stuff and we try to look for specific times that we have free to work on it. But it depends. It depends on how fast of a drawer you are, because there's some people that take longer. There's some people that take shorter amount of time. I took a little bit.
Yeah. So with this piece, tell me about it, because initially this is the only piece I saw, and I thought it was just that piece, and then I saw the right side with the eye, and then the other side with the heart. So what was this piece about?
Well, this piece, it kind of means that it's like women empowerment. So both sides, both of her arms become into trees, because it's supposed to mean like growth. So how you grow in your life. Since I came here, I've found myself to be growing a lot faster than before. Maybe because I'm alone, maybe because I'm in a different country. But I feel like as women, we need to be able to empower that sometimes we're going to be in like difficult situations or in a very, very delicate situations. And that's why she's naked, because maybe when we are bare, that's when like we have to learn how to grow. So how were you able to put such thorough detail in this? Because I mean, like to me, it's amazing, even just looking at the eyeball, how realistic it comes off. But with the woman in her back, all the different ways the light hits it and reflects off of it, it's just mind-boggling to me. How were you able to do that? Thank you. Well, to be honest, most people ask me like, who is this? And I'm like, it's not specifically anyone. Like I try to like look into different pictures, because I couldn't find a poster that I actually thought that's the right one. So I looked into different ones and I put it all together, try to figure out how to like make it look as realistic as possible without actually having a model. Because I didn't have anyone to pose for me like that. Yeah, right. So I just tried my best to like see the pictures and see where like our muscles and everything, like the shadows and the light parts, like where everything goes well. Gotcha. And so what did you say the eye and the heart were about? You mentioned the arms growing into branches or growth. Yeah. So what is the correlation between the growth and then you have the eye and the heart? Well, the eye, I have a lot of paintings and drawings in which I include an eye, and it symbolizes God to me specifically. It might symbolize something else to other people, but to me it symbolizes God and how he has looked for me my entire life. And the heart is that sometimes we take decisions based on how we feel and how our heart feels, even though maybe the heart is not the one who we should follow. Yeah. Got you. So how did it feel for you to be able to feature this piece in the gallery? I mean, I was very nervous. Yeah. I turned in 6 pieces, and out of the 6, they accepted 4. And just actually getting a piece accepted is like a big deal, because a lot of people put in a lot of work in their stuff, and they submitted a lot of things. So I was just like, oh my God, like hopefully it'll happen. So I was excited. Gotcha. And you won an award for being featured in the gallery, correct? Yes. I won 1st place with this piece, and then I won 3rd place with a different piece. Gotcha. Yeah. How did that make you feel, to be not only acknowledged by having your artwork in the gallery, but to get the satisfaction of not only is this good, but it's award worthy? How did that make you feel? I was extremely nervous. I called my mom and I'm like, Mom, I'm really happy that I got like my artwork there. I don't know if I'm gonna win anything. I don't feel like I'm gonna win anything. I was feeling kind of negative. Right. And then like when they said my name, I was like, wait, what? Yeah. And my friends were like, I told you so. And I was like, I didn't know it was gonna be good enough. Yeah, well, like I said, I remember when you were working on this, and I was blown away because I'd never seen you actually draw anything. I knew that you did art classes, but I was like super impressed at how well just done this piece was. Thank you. So then to find out that you were featuring work in the exhibit and that it was award based, I was like, what? Marcella might win something. Like, this stuff is really good. Oh, thank you. You are welcome. Yeah. So how important would you say it is to be able to have your artwork featured? I mean, it's really important. It doesn't, like, it's something that goes in your resume and it might help you in the future.
Right.
And then just the fact that some other people out there are able to see your artwork and feel some type of way or understand something from it. It's just, like, it's not only yours, it's for other people to see. So it's, like, extremely important.
Right. So with pieces like this one, for example, obviously it was initially for a class, correct?
Yeah.
So post-class, what do you plan to do with this piece?
I don't know. I was offered, like, a friend of mine wanted to buy it from me. And the thing is, he's from El Salvador, so I was like, I don't know how I can take this back home.
Right.
So for the moment, in the future, I would want to, because at the end of the day, I'm going to still be doing a lot of things, so I should just, like, get rid of some. You get attached, though.
Right. So is that something that you're maybe considering doing in the future, not only art therapy, but with some of the work that you create in your own time, maybe selling it?
Yeah, definitely. The idea of having someone that has my artwork maybe in their kitchen, maybe in their room, it's just, it's nice. It's nice.
And we only have a couple of minutes left, so my last question to you is, what would you say is probably the most important thing you've learned from art?
I feel like the most important thing I've learned from art is that, like, a lot of people can relate to it even when they're not interested in it, and I really, really like that about it, and that it has helped me, like, express what I go through and the way I feel, and to other people to see.
Got you. Well, Marcella, thank you for stopping by. I genuinely appreciate it. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to interview another student about some of the work he had featured in the Boyle Art Gallery. Stay tuned.
Start a story. Adopt at theshelterpetproject.org.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Welcome back to Corner Gallery. If you're just now joining us, I'm the host, Romero Starks, and joining me now is Garrett Hammersley. Garrett, how are you?
Doing good. A little early, but we're here.
Good, good. So Garrett, tell me a little bit about yourself, just to start.
Not from around here. Transferred in. You know, I have a lot of close family that drive me, so it's always nice.
Gotcha. So what drove you into pursuing art?
I have a twin sister who, she was always the artist of the family and definitely my role model. So kind of wanted to, like, mimic what she was doing, and it was just kind of easier to get into, like, high school art, having someone who was already, like, familiar with all the teachers. So getting, like, comfortable with all of that was really, really easy.
Got you. So what made you decide to pursue art past just something you like to do and making it a career option?
I was always, like, pretty decent at, you know, every other subject in school, but nothing really kept my attention like art did. And when I got to college, you know, I just kind of realized that was, like, the only option left, and just decided to keep going, even though my sister kind of stopped doing it. So I felt a little bit liable to keep it going, you know, for her and for me a little bit.
Gotcha. So before the show, you mentioned you didn't start off here at Lindenwood. So where did you start, and what made you decide to transfer here?
I went to a school called IUPUI in Indiana, downtown Indianapolis, and it was a lot bigger than this school. Just like I didn't really fit in well. It was, you know, my first time being by myself at a school. Because I have two sisters actually, and they've always, you know, gone to the same school as me. But this time I was by myself. Didn't really have any old friends from high school with me, and after a year at that school, I ended up needing to withdraw, and just like after that, things kind of went downhill in Indiana, so that's kind of why I moved here. My mom, she moved over here like 2 years before me, and she started working at SLU, so you know, it was either Lindenwood or SLU, but
Gotcha.
I think I chose the right fit.
Well, that's good to hear. So, what is your major here at Lindenwood? Obviously, I was talking to Marcella, and there's a variety of things you can get into with art. So what is your emphasis with your major?
It's studio art, like Marcella, but with an emphasis in sculpture. I didn't start out that way. I really disliked sculpture, and I realized that it came down to the right teacher.
Right.
Because originally it was all drawing based. But I felt pretty limited by that. You know, you can draw in, what, pencil, charcoal, pastel, but the list isn't very long. So when I looked at sculpture, the teacher here, Jacob Stanley, who he ended up leaving last year, but kept it going. It's just really kind of connected with me. I feel like I can do a lot more with sculpture. It's a lot wider range. A bunch of materials to work with, and it's just I found myself like having an easier time working conceptually with it.
Right. So Garrett, what do you hope to do with your degree once you get done? 'Cause you're rapping.
Check, check, mic check, 1, 2, 3, mic check, 1, 2, 3, check, 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 1, 2, 3.
Gotcha.
As weird as it sounds. And then also applying to different grad schools, because I'm not too sure how to keep it going, and it's kind of difficult right out of undergrad to keep it going, you know, to keep doing what you want to do at least. So I feel like pursuing grad school, you know, will give me another 4 years to keep doing what I do, and hopefully one day, you know, have my own studio to work in. That's like the ultimate dream, you know, having that freedom. But I don't know, we'll see.
Got big dreams. I dig it. I dig it. So you mentioned that you like sculpture, which you definitely could have fooled me, because based off of what's behind me, you're a very talented artist on the drawing side of things. So how long would you say it takes you, at least just drawings, how long do those typically take you?
That's the thing, like drawing and sculpture is super, super different. In drawing, a lot of it comes down to planning, like probably the first 5 hours or so. And then it ends up just being like that one night, 10-hour all-nighter session, you know, get the energy drinks flowing, get the music going.
Gotcha.
And I mean, with these drawings, the bigger one behind me actually took a shorter amount of time. Probably only about 15 hours. Got kind of limited by the jury show. I did have a lot of freedom with that drawing to start with, but then I was like, man, I really want to get in the jury show because I liked how it was going. And then the other drawing took me probably around 40 hours, which looking back on it, I'm not sure why. But yeah, it's just drawing and sculpture are really different because these are just like one night sessions, and sculpture comes into like just consistent work.
Gotcha. So I'm going to come back to these because first of all, the size of that canvas alone blows my mind. And then the fact that you're like, oh, it took me shorter than this one, which obviously this one has a lot of detail, but man, that looks like it just took, I don't even want to think about it. So what I want to ask you is, as far as sculpture, did you have any sculpture work featured in the gallery?
I did. That main cube in the middle that took up like all the space. It was like 8.5 feet by 8.5 feet. That was also mine. But that was an installation work, so that didn't actually get up until the night before the show, which was definitely a struggle. Had some friends help me with that, because definitely could not have done it by myself.
Right.
And then I had another little table, because I wasn't too sure if that bigger piece was going to get in or if it was too big. So I wanted to, you know, at least have something from my actual major in the show.
Right.
So that's why they were both in there. But I'm really happy that my main cube sculpture got in there.
Good, good. So where do you get the inspiration for, well, first of all, the cube. I mean, it's a huge cube, so I'd like to know the backstory on that first and foremost.
That just came from trying to develop ideas for my senior BFA show. That was actually last week. I ended up installing 3 of those, so it took up like the whole gallery. But as far as inspiration goes, first off, it's just the foundation, the metal, working, welding, and stuff like that. That's like where I always end up starting with creating ideas for sculptures, just because that's what made me fall in love with sculpture in the first place. And then last semester, I was working a lot with like string and monofilament or fishing wire. So that was like, you know, the second go-to material. So I was like trying to figure out how can I incorporate both of these materials. So I was like, wow, I want to, you know, experiment with that.
Right.
Which is why that cube, it was like lit from the bottom and the top, and it was interchangeable. So instead of, you know, like having to pull gallery lights and like light it that way, decided to like have my own unique lighting, which made it a lot more interesting and definitely a nice skill to add to my future sculpture works.
So as far as these pieces go, the amount of detail is insane. What was the thought process leading up to creating these?
This first smaller drawing, I was in drawing with Grant Hargate, one of my favorite teachers. Might get extra credit for saying that. But the first project of the year is to do a Dante's Inferno drawing, which is like, you know, the 9 layers of hell.
Right.
And like I had taken his class, you know, a lower level of his class, drawing 2 before that, and same project. But like I never actually finished that drawing, so I felt bad going in drawing 3, having to do the same project. So I just took a completely different spin on this drawing. I made it more figurative, which is what I was more interested in, instead of trying to create like, you know, actual 9 layers receding into the ground or something weird like that.
Right.
So like, you know, this like second layer is lust, which is why I went with 3 females. There's like deceit, gluttony. So that's where like all these different elements came into that drawing. And then for the longest time, tattoo art was always like something I was interested in. That's why my twin sister got into art as well. So I didn't really know how to like mesh that together with academic drawing.
Right.
Until Grant Hargate, the drawing teacher, he kind of gave me the freedom to do like what I wanted to do with drawing. Since, you know, I was a senior and was trying to figure out like what was next. So like that tattoo art style is definitely something I could also get interested in after college. And then this larger drawing, it was done this semester. I was getting like super like involved with my sculptures, and just eventually I just kind of got burnt out and just needed like a week or 2 break, which is why I kind of got into this drawing. And also because I hadn't really done a drawing for Grant like all semester, so I felt bad about that as well. And sculpture has just kind of taught me to just keep getting bigger, which has been really good.
I can see, because that's, as I mentioned, how tall is this?
It's my height, actually, a little bit over 6 feet.
Yeah,
wow. Well, I'm not 6 feet, but the drawing is,
close enough,
unfortunately.
Close enough. Yeah.
But, so I just kind of kept the similar style going with like the organic lines flowing through, still trying to work those out. Yeah. And then just exploring more of the female form, just because it's more interesting to me, more organic, more soft.
Right. So we've only got a couple minutes here, but one thing I really want to ask you is, how did it feel for you to be able to have your sculptures and your drawings featured in a student gallery?
Well, I had gotten my stuff shown last semester, and then I did another little jury show like outside over the winter. And like jury shows, they're definitely hit or miss sometimes. Like, I don't think I won anything for these drawings, which I'm not worried about, because I was really just focused on sculpture. And that's what I won in last year as well, sculpture, and then first in sculpture as well this year. So like, it's a nice feeling and all. But I mean, like with these drawings, like I just had to, you know, fill in some artworks. But it was really nice having my sculptures win, you know, seeing all that hard work being appreciated.
Well, unfortunately, we ran out of time really quickly. I enjoyed getting to talk with you, Garrett, so thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. So that is all for today's episode of Corner Gallery. We hope you all enjoyed it, and stay tuned for another one.
Check. 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 This is only a test. This is only a test. Check, 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 check.
Case today, we're visiting with a model boat collector, Fred Clausen, and he's going to share some insights into the interesting world of model boat collecting. Welcome, Fred.
Thank you, Paul. Glad you're here to film.
Thank you. Fred, we got a really cool show here today, and but before we get into that, can you share a little bit about your background in boating and, more importantly, your background with model boats?
Sure. I've been boating probably since my teens. We boated in the Adirondacks and now on Lake Winnipesaukee. And I still have some of the motors from when I was a kid. And then I bought cottages and I was going to put them on the shelves for the kids to play with, but I realized they were valuable. So I took them off the shelves and then I started collecting at the house, and it just kept growing. And it's a little overwhelming, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. How long have you been doing it?
Probably 22 years now.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. And you have a fairly sizable collection.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to put a number on it, because
no,
my wife may be watching.
Smart. It's
yes,
smart.
yeah,
Yes, right,
yes.
yeah. So you've got just the right experience, you get a lot of depth, and you get a lot of examples. So I think we're going to have a really neat show here, so why don't we get right into it?
Okay, sounds good, Paul.
Well, Fred, you know, you've got a vast collection. Really, the universe of model boats is large, and we can't cover it all today in a half-hour show, but I thought we could show some interesting samples from the collection. And I know there's a ton of details to keep track of, so you may have some notes you refer to every now and then to make sure we're accurate. When did, we're going to focus on wood boats today. When did those start becoming popular?
Well, in the 30s and 40s they were made. They were very crude, but the Japanese really picked it up quite a few notches around World War II. And that's what you see, all the details. Mine are probably from the early 50s that you'll see today.
Okay. Well, let's get right into it. We got different categories like wood cruisers, runabouts. I think we got some fin boats. We got some different categories to show people today. What can you tell us about this cruiser that's on display here?
Well, we're starting with one of the best. This is an ITO boat, and if you look in the front of the box, you can see the label right there, the original ITO label. They didn't have pictures of the boat itself, but rather just a general ITO label. But this is unique because of the bubble windshield on the top. That's a very rare one. And you can notice the sloping of the deck in the front and also the back side. It's a cabin cruiser. Looks like a Chris Craft. They didn't really put Chris Craft name on because they would have had to pay royalties. But it's